Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. It is the 182nd iteration of the show, recorded on the 28th of February 2016. My name is Josh Levin, and with me, as always, my co-host...
extraordinaire Ryan Kirkby. Happy Leap Day Eve, everybody.
I like how you called yourself extraordinaire.
Well, you called me co-host, so I got to seg that in.
No, I feel bad now. I should have said something like my illustrious co-host or my fantastical.
Well, that's the thing. I actually
genius co-host.
I can't draw, so you cannot officially call me illustrious because I cannot, illuminate or illustre anything.
Because you don't illustrate. Yeah, I wonder what illustrious. I don't even know what that even means. Illustrious.
Well, it would come from like like the illuminated text or something like that.
Having luster.
Yeah, or illuminating to like put like the pictures in there. I can put pictures in everyone's head out there, but as I do not actually make any drawings, I am not illuminated nor illustrious.
I suppose illustrious might be like worthy of being illustrated. Like somebody, this guy's so great, somebody should draw a picture of him.
That's a pretty good, benchmark. I wouldn't mind being that good one day. I'm so good, people draw pictures of me good.
Yeah, I guess we don't have fans that are that devoted at this point.
And not that I would, naysay anything like that, but I am kind of happy we don't have fans that want to draw pictures of us, because I've seen pictures of things on the internet where they try and draw, everything. And it's always in the same context, and I don't know if I'm always approving of it. So, yeah.
Well, apparently Ryan doesn't want. Okay, all of our fans out there who were just about to pick up a pen and start to draw us, Ryan doesn't want to be drawn, but I will absolutely take anything you send us at thesimulationist@gmail.com.
I mean, I'd be flattered, but from what I've seen, no, I do not have much of a desire for anything involving the number 34.
Oh, I see. You mean that? Okay. Well, I'll take that too, but that's enough about that.
Oh, okay.
About being illustrious.
But yes, we got some news this week. I mean, like 2 parts of news.
Okay, stuff. What's going on in the world of games?
Well, so that's the thing is like the first one is actually stuff that's happening, so it's not fiction, but it's based around fictional stuff. It is the Academy Awards going on tonight. So I guess it'll be like everyone's like got their fingers crossed. Will Leonardo DiCaprio get his award?
Oh yeah.
Finally. On the one sense, I hope he does. On the other hand, I've never been able to personally figure out why these awards matter to me. I'm sure they matter very much to the people in the industry, but I don't see why I should care.
Well, if you don't care, then I guess you shouldn't care, because that's sort of, if you care, you care. If
but
you don't,
people
you
make
don't.
a lot of hullabaloo about the whole thing, so I'd like to know why they care, because you seem to be quite interested in this. And heck, I recall one guy from a previous job I had. He would pay so much attention to anything anyone had to say. It's like, how was your weekend? What'd you do this last week? And like, no matter what you had to tell, he was like on the edge of his seat, excited, and he wanted to hear it. Because if it was something that you wanted to talk about, then it was worth something to him. And I took a very wise lesson from that guy.
Did you?
Because dude, if a person thinks it's important enough to speak, then maybe you should be paying attention yourself. And the Academy Awards, this is like the 88th annual Academy Awards. This has been going on for like getting close to a century now.
Okay. That's one reason to pay attention.
Well, I mean, it's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
People make all this big, events out of it. There's, oh my goodness, who's the casting? Who's going to be doing this? They release, like the lists of all the presidents, the nominees and all that stuff, like months in advance. People come down the red carpet wearing the fanciest outfits, sort of thing. But I don't see why I should care, because it has very little to do with anything that I rate.
Nobody is telling you have to care, though.
But they care, so I want to find out why they care, so that I might gain from it.
Oh, I see.
And
well, then you should care because they care.
Why they care, I could care for it too.
Well, and who is they?
Mostly people in the industry of the the Hollywood.
Like famous people, just people on TV that you don't know and just.
Well, I don't know them personally.
Yeah.
But like they do seem to be fairly good people for most of them. I mean,
yeah, so you feel like you have a connection to them as a person who watches movies.
Well, yeah, as a person who watches movies, and like most of these people seem like genuinely decent people.
Okay.
Sometimes substance abuse issue problems, but dude, I don't know the pressures they're underneath, so I'm not going to judge them on that. But by and large, they do seem like a very good group of people, and I'd like to know why they're so into it, aside from like personal self-serving reasons. Which, if that's the only reason, I'm completely fine with that. But it seems like there's something more to it.
Well, I don't see what's the problem with enjoying being recognized by your peers, the people in your industry who are, sort of, you sometimes work with them and they say, it's like having a birthday party or an office party or whatever. It's like, hey, here's a good job. You did a good job. You deserve this.
So point taken. And don't get me wrong, I will always understand the concept of somebody wanting to be acknowledged and appreciated by their cohort.
Yeah.
But they make it out as though everyone should be. I mean, they broadcast it on national TV.
It is weird that they put it on TV and everything. And it is a bit like, how do they get enough viewers to, like, why is the public...
From what I've been told, their viewership has been declining in the last decade or so. So apparently it's getting a little tougher for them.
But yeah, why is the public so interested? But I think the public just sort of has, they kind of see film stars as almost like family because they see them so much.
And the thing is that like I see them put it up like this is the winner of 3 Academy Awards, or like nominee of 7 awards, like especially for Lord of the Rings, they say like nominated for like 174 awards, because like dude, like until the 3rd movie came out for Lord of the Rings, they weren't winning anything because like politics and all that. But like they do put up like how many like wins is like from like 3-time Academy Award winner, like so and so, and from the 3-time nominee this person here. So they say it as though it really does matter that you have it or have been at least nominated for it. So like but I've never like said, oh, I should watch this movie because it's won several awards, or you know what, I'm not going to watch this movie because it hasn't won enough awards to my liking.
I've gone down a list of movies that have won Academy Awards and have been like, oh yeah, that movie won an Academy Award. I should probably at some point watch it. And I think I've probably picked a movie, on a certain night just because it had won an award. So
it actually does, like, because that,
some effect. Yeah.
That has made like absolutely zero effect on my movie selection choice.
Okay.
I don't know. Like maybe that's me. Maybe I'm a little aberrant in that way. Maybe it's just something weird I do that other people don't.
Well, I think you have to come at movies also from a lot of different angles, because a movie is a big, fat, complicated thing.
Oh yeah. Like back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, we got 12 people and a camera. Let's make a movie. And then it was a professional-made movie. Yeah,
so it's complicated on the production end, and then it's also complicated on the consumption end, because you have a lot of effort put into that opening weekend, but then sometimes, random things happen and it doesn't do well in an opening weekend or whatever.
So instead of awards for actors, do they have one where it's set up for like the technical stuff? Like best.
Oh, they have.
CGI,
yeah, they have technical awards. Yeah.
Is that all part of the Academy Awards too? Because I don't hear that as often as like best supporting actor, actress.
I think it might be a separate show.
Because I could be more interested in that, because I do have much more of a personal love for the people who make the magic happen.
I don't know if they broadcast it though. I'd have to. Maybe they do. I don't even know.
We are living in the future. Maybe they stream it.
They might, yeah.
But, ever since I saw the movie The Wizard of Speed and Time, which I do encourage everyone to see, I think you can find it on YouTube these days. Disney has pretty much disavowed any love for it, and they won't even sue you on it, which is a little sad.
So does that mean it's on YouTube?
I'm pretty certain you can find it all on YouTube. If not that, at least the original short the guy made. And it's about a guy who, winds up, making a movie and doing all his own special effects. And they actually show, like, the tricks to it. Like, there's one bit where he runs down the side of a wall. And what they actually do is they have him go next to the wall and leap up to the side, and they snap the photo shot of it. And then he goes down, steps forward one step, and then jumps up against the wall, and they snap the photo that way. And then when they play it all together, it looks like he's kind of shimmying down the wall.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice little trickery like that. And ever since I saw the movie, it has occurred to me that like every time you see special effects of some form in the movie, someone has gone an awful lot of trouble of trying to trick you into thinking that what happened really happened.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that the same way I appreciate any stage magician trying to entertain me. In which case, I suppose it doesn't really even matter who is on the stage at the time, because the special effects are all happening behind the scenes. So I have more love for the special effects and the technical aspects.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I'm not a cine auteur, so it's not like I'll say like, oh, like he really should have won, this one because his like 16:8 ratio of filming was done in a much better style and quality. I can't claim to be good enough to see the shots for the shots and which way would work up best.
Okay, yeah.
Although I can tell the difference between newer and old movies based on their style of filming. A lot more close-ups in like I saw like this last week. I saw the Mummy, the classic like 1930s movie, The Mummy, and they did like close-ups of Boris Karloff as Imhotep and all that, and it was basically just him with my god, they had like the wizened lines around like the mouth because the guy's been around for like almost 4,000 years. He's looking pretty spry for a 4,000-year-old person. I don't get me wrong. Yeah. But he's got like the wizened lines around the mouth, and the eyes, the area on the between the nose to the forehead is dark, but they light the eyes up on it so to show that he's doing like his horrible evil magics upon something.
Okay, yeah, evil eyes.
And I kind of like that to show, like the glowing eyes of evil sort of thing. But you would never see something like that every time like a wizard casts a spell, in a modern movie, where it's just a static close-up face shot with and then we turn up the light around the eyes and good. Now we fade to some other scene where a person's having a natural heart attack, which is really caused by evil magics.
I'm trying to think of the last film I watched where a wizard casted a spell. It's probably one of the D&D movies. I mean, I don't know if The Hobbit counts because Gandalf doesn't really cast spells. He lights things on fire, but.
Oh, Gandalf fighting Saruman was a pretty good fight.
I guess so, yeah.
But there's very little sort of times where you're actually, for any circumstance, where you'll see a static, close-up shot. And yet you always have that line, I'm ready for my close-up. When it's like you got your big old like diva going on for the you watch almost any cartoon where somebody's going to wind up getting filmed, and you'll hear the line, I'm ready for my close-up. And like, no, nobody does a close-up like that anymore. It's not, at least not the same where it's, boom, and like dude's face is the entire part of the screen, right?
I don't know. Maybe I don't watch enough movies.
You need to watch more old movies so that you can say like, dude, I've never seen this weird style here. They do longer shots. The fight scenes aren't as important sort of thing, so it's just like 3 or 4 punches here, and then we move on with it. So there's a much different in the cinematography, but that's about as much as I can really tell.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, but like I look back to the main point. Like I would like to know why the Academy Awards are supposed to matter so much to me, because apparently they're trying to get my attention on this whole thing. Yeah.
Are they advertising to you? I don't feel like I've
seen the
got
stuff
any
on TV. I keep hearing stuff like, "Hey, we've announced the list of all the nominees. Yeah. Hey, look who we've got doing the hosting, presenting stuff here. Ooh, look at this. Come take a look at all."
Does that make a difference to you? Are you kind of
like
enticed
Chris
to
Rock,
watch the show, the whole thing, because it's got Chris Rock hosting? You might tell some funny jokes that you like, and
well, that's the thing.
He might interact with some of the other actors.
Chris Rock has got a quick wit, and that's what I really appreciate about him. You can be a comedian and not have a quick wit, but you do a lot better as a comedian if you can come up with something just off the cuff, and that way everyone's like, oh ho, he managed to like turn things around, and now everyone's laughing at the situation. There are people out there who have not been able to do that, and I have seen like careers go down the drain pretty quick from not being able to handle a situation to their liking. But Chris Rock, apparently, for what I've seen, can do that. So I was like, ooh, I want to see him just to see how he rolls with everything.
Well, there's an incentive for you.
But it wasn't enough incentive for me to actually, switch the channels around to watch it tonight. So I would like to know, but no one has presented to me a sufficient argument as to why I should love it.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you should. And I guess this is what I'm not even understanding from you is why do you feel this sort of? Why do you even feel pressure? Like, why do you even feel like you're
A lot of people tend to like this, and so I at least try and give it a shot.
Yeah.
I can understand why I don't like most reality television programmings. I understand why I do like, some stuff that isn't considered as popular, because it fulfills the niche and what I would like to see.
Yeah.
And
well, do you feel like you're a bit of a hipster or what you can call it, like you like things that not everybody likes? Maybe that's the problem. It's too popular.
Well, it's not that it's a popular thing. It's just like I have come to realize that I like what I like, but I should always try to expand my horizons. Mm-hmm. And a hipster is a person who likes what they like and tries to, make sure that no one else likes it, so only they can like it as some sort of weird status thing.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm always trying to still try and grow as a person. I will rent a movie I'm not 100% certain I'll like, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to give this one a shot because it sounds like it might have an excitingly weird plot. So I'd like to know why I should potentially like the Academy Awards, but I have never been given a wonderful argument to persuade me. Maybe someday.
Okay, well, I guess that's that.
In other news, this one much more fiction-based. Defense of the Ancients 2, or DotA. They're having their Shanghai major going on these days.
In Shanghai?
I do believe it is indeed in Shanghai.
So it's a tournament of some kind? DotA, it's a big...
the Shanghai Major, or Winter Major, is the second event of Valve's DotA Major Championships. Adds 3 new publisher-sponsored tournaments each year in addition to the International. The main event takes place in the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Shanghai, China. Thank you, TeamLiquid.net.
Are you're reading that off of
yes.
TeamLiquid.net?
Yeah,
okay.
the TeamLiquid.net wiki. So,
Okay.
Because not everyone knows about this. Not everyone's into the DotA.
Well, so it's an eSports championship.
Yes. That's being hosted by Valve. And things on this thing have just gone, oof.
So what happened? What's the news? What happened?
Well, things went from pot to horrible to bad, and now everyone's just flinging muck, sort of thing.
Okay.
Apparently, technical issues going all throughout this thing there.
Like computers are not working and networks are not networking?
Exactly. Everything you fear on a LAN, like a thing going wrong, is apparently hitting at some degree.
That must be really hard to get. Like, how many people do you think they have? Like 10,000?
Well, not only that, but first of all, there's a $3 million prize, so things have to go right. Otherwise, you can argue over who should have gotten the prize, and then it boggles down with lawyers. So you don't want that.
Isn't the whole point of a game, especially a game like an esport game, is the whole point of that game is to decide who's the winner at it?
Yes, but if one team
that.
winds up getting significant lag, then they can claim we should have won. But we were getting 500 millisecond lag, so we were not being able to perform optimally.
They can say that, but I feel that you play the game as it's given to you. I mean, I guess there's a point to be made if it really wasn't fair conditions, but you sort of it's a little bit like sports. It's like if you're playing against the sun, or if your team has a disadvantage just from the environment, that's part of what goes into, that's why you can win. You win despite that. Which
is, great. But apparently they also have to be streaming this stuff out to all the people that are going onto their websites or thing to watch.
Yeah, so technical difficulties with that?
Yes, apparently all ends of the thing, technical stuff. They had an announcer, James Harden. Let's see. Okay, for those who don't know,
I don't know.
Yeah, there's every reason for you not to know unless you're into that sort of scene. He was former professional, Quake 4 player, World of Warcraft player. He's turned commenter, a community member, and does stuff on Twitch. He's much more, online aware and known than we are. So, he's a bigger fish than us. Gives at least some respect to him. Apparently, he was fired pretty much on the air.
He was fired
from his commenting role in there by Gabe Newell, who posted up apparently the next day on Reddit, basically James is an ass, an actual
drama.
And to which James Arning has put out a 17-page reply.
Okay, we're going to read it to you now.
Nah, paraphrasing, dude, there have been issues apparently... Well, Valve doesn't have the same sort of hierarchy that a lot of other game companies, will have. Gabe's up at the top, and then it's much more of a nebulous sort of more people are equal sort of thing.
they don't actually have jobs in the company. It's just
they have
you
jobs,
work for us, but
they have jobs, but they don't have
whatever.
like the hierarchy sort of thing.
Do whatever you feel like doing.
Like this person's above you here, and this person's above them. Like when I was working in the lab, I knew who was like the team lead for the group I was in, and I knew who his boss was and his superiors were. And then like I knew where HR was, I knew the CEO was. You know, like I needed to knock on the CEO's. I never did, but if I needed to knock on the CEO's door, I knew which guy he was. He was a great guy, by the way. Like I wish him the best. But otherwise, you know, like I didn't have a firm grasp, but there was a hierarchy everywhere up, and it all connected up in a, you know, like just like a.
I imagine most companies, probably our listeners, if they work for a company, they probably have something like that going on. But
whereas Valve is apparently much more. Instead of vertical, horizontal. They interconnect. Each person has roles and all that stuff, but nobody can pull rank on another sort of thing. Like, dude, I'm your boss. Just do as I say, please.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know. And apparently that was one of the things that's been bogging what the cause of the technical issues are. What's being doing, like, a lot of that is because there is no like rank to apply in there. So when you get two conflicting messages from two different people, who are you supposed to listen to? Because neither one is like the superior to another. So yeah, there's.
And this was causing trouble with our announcer friend. Somehow.
Well, it was like when they say dude, you got to be your people like you, be yourself. There's like, dude, you got to tone it down. So what do you do? Be yourself or tone it down? Like what do you do? He's in a damned if you don't sort of situation.
Okay, no, I get that, and we live in almost in that world where we have personalities. We're not particularly controversial. But we do often talk to people who, or talk about people in the world of like gaming commentary and stuff like that, who can be a little bit on the side of offensive, I guess, or
for instance, this last week. The Yogscast started up their next series, Whale Lords.
Oh yeah, we talked about.
And it's got the main trio that like most people are used to seeing. For the groups there, you got your Simon, Lewis, and Duncan. It also has Sips and Shin, and they're all together, sort of thing. Apparently going back to like their old Tekkit days style. Yeah. And every time I've been reading, the comments below, each one of the episodes I've been watching, it's just started up, by the way, so you can like really get in at the ground floor. Woo! Like there's people saying like, God, I hate Sips. Sarah, I hate who Sips guy. He's ruining everything. And I won't lie that he is antagonistic.
Yeah.
But he does keep things lively. He prevents things from being dull while everyone's getting supplies. Yeah. He'll do stuff like go into to Simon's area, take his stuff, and then like make his place look better through the stolen stuff, and then just outright deny it while he's got the stolen items in his hands. Yeah.
So Sips I think is a mild example, but they're in the gaming community. Sometimes
there are a lot more, antagonistic or downright offensive.
And if you're a company who's sort of like, okay, we want to really push our brand, we want to get a bit controversial, a bit like out there, so we're going to hire this personality and this voice, knowing that they might say some weird or go a bit too far.
Make a joke that's a little blue.
And then they go ahead and they bring that. I think that's your company's fault. And I mean, Gabe Newell, he says, "Oh, he's an ass." That guy, or was it James? What?
James Harding.
Just
call him James.
James Harding is an ass. Maybe he kind of is, but maybe that's also, you should know that when you're hiring a guy. You should know what brand you're getting.
It's like Howard Stern. Like some people actually tune in just to get angry by him. Like, oh god, exactly. In his movie, it's like the people that like him, listen to him for like 38 minutes. The people that hate him listen for like a full hour.
Yeah, and Howard Stern sometimes gets hired. Well, he got hired on America's Got Talent. Is that what he does?
Well, one of those.
Or a talent show.
One of the reality TV talent things.
And I think he did tone his personality down somewhat to be on the show.
It wasn't Howard Stern at 10. It was more Howard Stern at 5.
I think so. But at the same time, they kind of knew how you have to know when you hired Howard Stern what you're getting. You can't pretend, I didn't know he was going to be
You're not getting Pee Wee Herman when you hire Howard Stern.
But I have to say, I think Howard Stern is really generally like a good guy? I mean, he's got some kind of reputation of being...
He knows which side his bread is buttered on, and he will make apologies when he goes too far. Howie Mandel, he thought Howie Mandel's germophobia was just like a bit he was playing. So when he wouldn't open the door for Howie, and Howie wound up having a panic attack, when he realized it was just some sort of like skit thing like he was doing, it wasn't like an act. He was very apologetic about it because it's kind of a dick move to keep a germaphobe locked in because dude, he can't touch the doorknob, right? So if he had never apologized, dude, look at my ratings, everyone loves that. That would have been pretty bad. But apologizing to Howie Mandel, sorry, I thought you were doing like a gag sort of thing, and I didn't, know until things were like a little bit too far along that it was a panic attack you were actually having. So completely sorry, which he did apologize for. That means that he's like a legitimate human being. So hooray, you're not getting the worst person on earth just for the sake of ratings, right?
Yeah. It occurs to me of our brand, you're in, not to get too much inside of the podcast.
I am the raging yin to your passive yang.
It occurs to me that you and I are both actually pretty on the level. We're not, people wouldn't expect us to be controversial if they were to hire us to host a game convention or something, or a tournament of some kind. I think they wouldn't expect to get too controversial of opinions.
I don't know. Sometimes at work, we go from tangent to tangent. Sometimes things get a little blue in the back where the customers can't hear. Yeah,
but that's in the back where that's not in public. But
sometimes you say a line and it leads to a joke, and the joke snowballs up, and next thing you know, you got yourself a rolling, a avalanche of funny blue jokes.
And it's not even blue humor, although blue humor is a thing, because I do
I
do dirty jokes in my comedy. I don't think I'm really that controversial. I don't think either of us are.
Nothing that somebody's going to throw a tomato at for you or post up a thing on Reddit like Josh is an ass.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So, yay!
Well, I mean, yay, but also, sometimes that's what a company will be like, yeah, we're going to do that to get get real buzz and stuff. I don't know.
Technically it works. I mean, there's been more, investigation and time spent by me as to what's going on at the Shanghai tournament and what's, everything that's happening than I've ever really paid attention to beforehand. So, notoriety, woo!
Yeah.
On the other hand, is this looking a lot like there's one of the situations where nobody's in the right, everybody's at least somewhat in the wrong, and it's just a matter of how deep you're gonna wind up calling it.
Yeah, well, the person I blame least is probably at this point, from just hearing the surface details, the person I blame the least is James Harden, because he has a brand and he kind of is known to be a bit of an ass. And that's fine. That's something you're allowed to do.
Sort of thing. But yeah.
And I don't know what exactly he said, but I imagine that it's more about Valve's problem of, well, if you didn't want this kind of personality, don't hire him in the first place.
Did you not do enough homework to figure out who you were hiring, sort of thing, or did you just see someone? Wow, this guy's got so many viewers on Twitch. We should hire him because he's available. He's got experience on that.
Yeah, that's where I would land. But this is me, with barely any information, so...
Well, so that's the thing. As I'm going through the Reddit stuff, I see people that have worked with James before saying, okay, sometimes he's a little abrasive, but he's actually a pretty good person. Here's some examples I can give, and yada, yada, yada. And so, by having people come up to speak on his behalf, it does definitely seem like he is not the person who is at least most wrong. Maybe some of the stuff he did, he should have listened to person B instead of person A, but Valve has got a lot of issues going on because they don't have a hierarchy to say do you listen to A versus B. Mm-hmm. So well, silver lining, they can really see what they did wrong and polish it up for the next season's tournaments, right? Streamline it, clean things up, and make sure they've got a clear line of communication for how everything operates.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are saying the whole, even before the guy got fired, it was a lot of a laissez-faire sort of style going on. This was not the same as other e-tournaments that you'd wind up seeing.
Right.
So, and it's not even done yet. The tournament's not even over yet, so my goodness.
Yeah.
Who knows how things are going to end. Long story short, make some popcorn and go over to Reddit and start reading.
Okay.
Provided you're okay with that sort of stuff, you will not be, like bored by it. Like, I'm not big into that community scene, so like, if it wasn't for that comic and Nerf now, I probably would have skipped my radar. But
Which subreddit? Is it on r/gaming?
Dota 2, I believe, is where it is.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
r/Dota 2.
So yeah, go check that out, sort of thing, and like, oof. Well, I mean, heck, you could just like Google up like Shanghai tourney drama and probably get enough like links and information for everything.
Sure. Okay.
But oof, that's the other bit of news. Yeah, is apparently the tournament's going rather poorly at this time. And it may wind up being like a low point in Dota, tournaments and eSports. So that's okay, because there's always got to be at least some low point. So that just means there's more high points later on.
That's not how that works, but okay.
Well, there's like if you look at a history of anything, there's always going to be a low point. So someone had to, be happening at the low point.
Yeah, I guess are you saying it could have been worse, or?
Well, I'm saying that like in the long term, when you're looking at it like 30 years in the future, like there's always going to be a low point when you look at it. It's like, wow, they were really not doing things right.
Yeah,
here.
but there's lower points, there's low points, and then there's lower points, and there's lowest points. So if you only had a less low point,
if this winds up being the lowest point that they'll have in the next 30 years. That's still not that bad, because it's not like anyone got shot.
Does that happen?
Shots were fired, but like that's more like like posting 17-page response. Yeah. So hey, I mean, like on a much more wide, like stepping back, taking a look at it from a grander perspective, that's still not that bad. Like things could have gone a whole lot worse. Nobody's dead.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Because let's face it, sometimes, when you see like a low point in like regular sports, it's like that's when his leg suddenly gained 3 extra knees. And, like his the tackle went so badly. So it's like not like anybody's like lost their career over some like debilitating sports injury here. So it's not as bad as it was when you compare it to low points in like more physical sports. So there you go.
Okay.
Bad is bad, but like their lowest point doesn't match the worst of others.
Well, yeah, when it comes to real sports, I don't know if I would describe lowest points as sort of injuries, although that's definitely bad. I mean, especially if somebody dies.
Well, you can get like dying or like just like career-ending injuries.
Yeah, but like low points in terms of corruption and stuff would be like if a team is caught cheating or something like that. That's what I sort of think.
Yeah, none of the players have been accused of doing anything nefarious, so that's nice, right? Come on, there's a silver lining there.
Oh, yeah.
The players are all stepping up there, and they're all doing solid performances as much as the technical, instability is allowing them to be. So yay, right? No one's accusing anyone of dirty, playing tactics. No one's accused anyone else of, like taking some sort of like stimulants to enhance their reflexes.
Okay, if you want to look at it that way.
So yay, the players are doing fine. That's good. You see, there's silver linings, right? It's just not that bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not that bad.
I feel like you're almost describing it like, there was this horrible football game that like, all the players, half the players died or something like that. But at least in the baseball world, everything's okay. It's that kind of.
Well, sometimes you got to try and find any silver lining that you can find, right?
It's like baseball will never exist after this, accident / scandal / everything else, like a nuclear
baseball
bomb.
Will never be this
no longer
grim
exists.
again.
But at least we still have poker.
You got to find your silver linings, and right now this is like until things settle down and like people start taking responsibility and everything, like comes out in the wash. You got to try and find any silver lining. This is like the any port in a storm, man. But yeah, that's the other bit of news this week. Sort of thing. It's just like oof.
There's just stuff going on that we want to talk about. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about more personal stuff. What you been doing this week, Josh?
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go over my week. Not too many simulations. A few. I always bring up comedy as if it's a simulation. Sure, it is.
Yeah, it is.
I went to comedy shows pretty much every night over the last week. I guess this is my life now, just doing comedy. I got on stage 4 times.
Hooray.
I did 4 sets of 3 or 5 minutes, which it's the most I've ever done in a week. So
there you go. See,
pretty cool.
Now here's the thing. This is a high point for you, but it's not going to be the highest high point.
No. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah, I went on stage for it. I didn't get paid for any of those times. I imagined in the future sometime maybe I will get some.
Paycheck's going to be even better. Yeah.
I'll get paid to do comedy. That would be great. But no, I don't know. Yeah, I just went out to shows, just plugged away at it, told my jokes. Got very nerdy.
Not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
And that was all at the Ratfish Lounge?
2 at Ratfish, 1 at the Mint in Victoria, and 1 at McRae's restaurant, which had an open mic on Tuesday.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
So yeah, all over.
Bottom line, there's a lot of culture happening in Victoria, and go on out and see it. You might see Josh when you're there.
That's right, yeah. And I mean, yeah, the
and like real culture, not like going to like a club where the oons prevent you from actually talking with anyone else.
I mean, if that's your thing, you can.
I don't have anything wrong with that. But it's not culture.
Yeah.
There's a difference, at least in my mind. Culture allows you to talk to other people, and less chance of getting roofied.
Sure, I don't know.
I don't suppose there's a big roofing culture in the comedy scene.
Not that I know of.
There you go. Silver linings abound today.
Well, I like your nice attitude there.
When you're flat on your back, all you can look is up.
But I also played D&D yesterday at Roll for Initiative.
That's right, Roll for Initiative, end of the month, was yesterday.
Which happened yesterday. And then we're going to have another one very soon after, so if you're a listener and you're listening now and you want to get in on it, I'll put a link in our show notes and you can click on it and find out. It is $10 to attend. But yeah, I played yesterday. I didn't get a chance as a Dungeon Master this time, although hopefully next month, for March, maybe I'll get a chance. I'll get a crack at it. But I played this time. I played half-orc barbarian.
Very classic style.
Eggish, that was his name.
Oh, that's a lot more syllables than I usually use for my barbarians.
Yeah, I didn't want to be your typical barbarian, but yeah, I pretty much was. It was 5th edition. Yeah, it was pretty fun. We did a bunch. It was all first level stuff, so we did like rescuing farm people and fighting off wild dogs, stuff like that.
Wait, did you fight off the wild dogs with the farm people?
Well, there was a farm boy who was like being attacked by wild dogs, and we had to like fight them off so that he would be okay.
So you subdued the farm boy and let the dogs have a good meal.
We didn't end up doing that. It's weird though, that group, like the people, I don't know, we just end up with random like people from the group, and there's about 10 of us there, so 5 end up at a table. But the ones I was playing with all wanted to be like evil or chaotic, and I'm fine with that, but I just happened to put on my character neutral good, so I was like the goody barbarian.
No paladin, to toe the line in this party. It's the barbarian.
I was a paladin last time, a dwarf paladin, but I was lawful neutral.
I am okay that you can do that in 5th edition because they have a reasoning behind it and it makes sense. So I'm like, yeah.
Let's see. Do I approve of the idea? Well, I obviously chose a character of that, so I guess in some ways I must approve. But I still kind of feel like paladins should be lawful good. I just have that sort of feeling.
The classic, like White Knight paladin, definitely.
Yeah.
But like the Dark Knight stuff they got, like the vindictive ones, I can completely see that hitting the neutral.
Yeah, except just be a fighter or a cleric. Or an evil cleric.
It doesn't fit the motif you're trying to go for, and that's what I really like. The archetypes really help you out with defining like a character's style. And they put in those green nights for the ones that just like to party out afterwards. So you can have a paladin that likes going to the bar afterwards. So hooray!
Well, there's no explicit rule about paladins not being allowed to drink alcohol.
Yeah, but the whole thing about, we got to spend all this money, we got to tithe them, we got to be really, really holy. So unless you're like a dwarven paladin, it's like, you can't have any holy beers.
You can. There's no rule against that.
It doesn't fit the old stereotypes, but now you've got like a really good reason to go like, oh yes, like why am I questing out after like the lost statues of this and that? Like they're not really holy artifacts, but they are the best statues made by the master artisan from like a millennia ago, and bringing them back and putting them on proper display would help out with culture everywhere. And that's kind of what I am. I'm a cultural, paladin.
Cultural paladin, yeah.
Because that's basically what they are. It's just like they have to love like the fruits of society and civilization.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
they can't lose themselves. It's not like they're always supposed to be like the protectors of civilization. But so many stereotypes about the paladin is that they really don't enjoy anything. They don't get any of the fruit that comes from the labor of like the cultivating this tree of society.
That's an interesting niche that paladins hold. Yeah, they're a protector, but they're not allowed to indulge in what they protect. Yeah.
Where in the green paladins, effectively for the archetype there, they're ones that like they lose their powers if they don't enjoy society around them.
I suppose, yeah. I like that. I guess I enjoy that archetype of. I like the idea that in order to protect something, in order to be the best protector that you can be, there's some kind of sacrifice that you make, that you have to give something up to do that. I like that idea. I guess maybe I don't believe it necessarily in truth, but yeah.
Yeah, but with the green paladins, you can go with like the warrior poet style.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, that's right. I vanquished 100 people. Now I shall compose a sonnet about it. Oh yes, this is amazing. This is as good as every person I've slain on the battlefield. Ha! So it's nice to see that you can work those archetypes all together and have this really interesting character that come out of it.
Well, okay.
Which I think is the highlight of 5th edition. I mean, if there's a lot of highlights to be done, but the character creation with all the backgrounds and all the niches that your archetypes will allow can really create something that just still follows the rules, but still breaks the mold. And I quite enjoy that. So, hooray!
Yeah. So what did we fought wild dogs. We fought some Dwargar. I think that's what they're called.
The evil dwarves.
Evil dark dwarves. And we ended up in like a dungeon with like a bunch of braziers that summoned demons, and so we were fighting off the demons as they kept on being summoned until we could like break the thing.
So nobody had a bucket of water.
No, well, not in our inventories. I suppose like we could have rigged something up, but yeah, we didn't think of that.
Now if you had been one of the cultured paladins, you may have had some perfume on there, in which case you sprinkle the perfume and then spray it from the atomizer onto the braziers and see if you can't summon a more cultured, classy demon. So instead of this horrible barbarian, a demon coming up that decides to attack everyone, it's like, no, let's sit down and talk about this.
Uh-huh.
You put some culture in the brazier, out it comes.
I don't think that would work. But I guess it's worth a shot.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was D&D. I had fun. Played some D&D. And let me see if I did anything else this week. I don't. Did I do? Oh, my new plan with Minecraft is to. Should be quick.
Okay.
I want to build a village. Do you remember I was building diagonal sheep farms?
Yes.
Well, now I want to do a diagonal village.
To keep everyone from going all up to that northwest corner.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to do a village that's sort of oriented northeast to southwest.
Ah.
And it's going to be a really long, like, chain of buildings. So I'm going to try and see if I can make, like, a real bustling type village without it just, bunching up in some areas.
I did have some rather good work, in my one round city, where everyone was mostly concentrated in the center, but it wasn't all like into that one spot. They keep trying in so many.
Oh yeah, you managed to work.
It did involve a lot more doors in a lot wider space in that case. Apparently, that diffuses out at least a little bit towards where a town center should be.
Yeah.
And none of them wound up drowning in the pool, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, it's always nice when they don't do that. So yeah, I did that. Watched TV, Big Bang Theory, Grey's Anatomy. I don't know if I can say much about those.
Well, you tend to like The Big Bang Theory. Was it a good episode?
Yeah, no, I didn't enjoy it that much. It was the episode this week was Sheldon's birthday, and it seemed like it was just kind of I don't know if it was fan service or it's a little bit like the award show. It's like they just sort of talked to Sheldon. Like they each gave a little speech, and they spent probably half the episode on just like a little clip, and it wasn't flashbacks or anything. It was just each character saying a word about Sheldon. You know, and it's very like appreciative and loving and blah blah blah. You know, blah blah blah.
Emotions, hooray!
I know, right? And then they had who'd they have show up? Will Wheaton and
Evil Will Wheaton. Or real Will
the Will Wheaton of the Big Bang Theory universe?
Just making certain. Evil Will Wheaton.
Well, he plays Will Wheaton. It's like it's Will Wheaton as Will. It's not Will Wheaton as himself. It's Will Wheaton as Will Wheaton. That's an important distinction.
Yeah, so he does tend to refer to himself as the evil Will Wheaton.
Okay.
There, so yeah.
Yeah, so that would be but he's not that evil.
No, but it's a nice way he distinguishes himself from the character of himself.
Oh, I see. Okay. And they had Adam West on the show, and they do this occasionally. Like they did it with the guy who played Professor Proton. Do you remember the name? Oh, yes, you don't watch the show, but they have like it's sort of a semi-famous guy like show up, and they had Stephen Hawking also.
Ooh.
So it's a series of these cameos and just a whole lovey-dovey this that blah blah blah. It's like a mushy, like, why is that even, why do they waste a show on that? That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that you're cynical about the Oscars, but here I am complaining about this. But anyways.
Hey, but at least yours was only like, what, an hour, half hour long?
It was a half-hour show.
Yeah, there you go.
Or
So it was
22
only a half
minutes
hour long.
without commercials.
Like the whole thing with the Academy Awards, that's like a 2-3 hour production.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So at least your stuff is done in like 1/6 the time.
Yeah, and yeah, Sheldon has a bit of a breakdown, runs into the bathroom. It's sort of predictable Sheldon behavior because it's a big group of people. He freaks out about having his birthday, and then somebody comes in, like Penny comes in and sits with him for a little while and says, "Oh, blah, blah, it'll be okay." And then he's like, "Okay, I suppose you're right." And then he goes back out, and they have a party, and
Was there cake?
Yes, there was cake.
What kind of cake?
I believe it was chocolate with pink icing.
Shaped funny?
What's that? What?
Shaped funny? Anything like that? Or?
No, because Sheldon wants things to be very particular, so he wanted this, round cake. He wouldn't probably. Well, it's so hard. This is what I like about Big Bang Theory. A good thing about Big Bang Theory is you can never really predict where Sheldon is gonna go. Like you think, he's gonna like, he likes boring things. He likes things to be fairly straightforward. That's generally true. But every once in a while, he has a quirk where he saw something that he liked, like in the shape of a cartoon character or something, and now that's what he thinks is the best thing ever. So yeah, it's hard to predict what Sheldon's gonna love. But
I was just thinking, I was kind of intrigued, like whether or not he'd go for the round cake or the square, because he does seem to be a perfectionist. So you could get much more regular-sized, pieces from cutting with a square cake, albeit not everything would have an outside piece. Whereas with the circular cake, he could potentially be cutting it in proper fractional pieces. That's guaranteeing everyone else, everyone gets an outside piece.
That's true. It would be symmetrical. Now, the character Sheldon, he doesn't care if everybody gets the same thing. That's one thing he's never been. He's never cared about equality. He only wants himself to get something good. So he wants to make sure that he gets a good piece. But
wouldn't that be much more of a guarantee on a round cake than on a square cake? Then?
Except that he believes that he's like the most important thing to all his friends. So that he believes that they're gonna give him what he wants, and they usually do.
Codependency. I dig it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I don't know.
Because as I said before, I'm not a big fan of it, but I do recognize the traits of at least a few of the characters in the broad strokes. So it occurred to me, like, what would his preferred cake be?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think round cake is probably, yeah.
Because the alternative would have been like a log cake, in which case you just slice it based on the thickness of how much cake you want. And that's a very nice way of going about it. It's a very simple style cake, albeit in an atypical form for what people conceive of the Christmas, festivity cakes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I watched on TV.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I was also gonna bring up Grey's Anatomy because it was also one. I liked it well enough, and I love Grey's Anatomy because I don't know, I just like it. I think it's a good show.
You dig it, you're into it.
But what they did with this week's episode is they did one of these backwards in time episodes.
Oh, where you see a scene and like the first scene is like the final scene sequentially.
Yeah.
I actually kind of dig those ones.
Oh, you do? Okay, I don't generally like it. They did okay. Like,
done
I didn't hate
right.
It
It's like Seinfeld did a great one. Serenity Now. I think Sliders potentially did the best one because they were going forward as the universe was like the reality goes backwards, so they were getting it all done backwards sort of thing. And that was actually kind of like a really good twist on the concept.
Yeah. But yeah, the Grey's Anatomy one, it was about two characters who had gotten married, and this is going back a couple seasons, I think, or maybe just 2 seasons ago.
Okay.
But they got married, they got pregnant, they had a miscarriage.
Well, one of them got pregnant, I suppose.
Yeah. Or they had the baby, but the baby died. But they had, a little funeral for it and everything, and they moved on. But then she went to Jordan, like the country Jordan, to do like military work and stuff, and then left him there. And then he didn't like that, so he wanted to get a divorce because he felt that she abandoned him, and then he couldn't be supportive of her if she wouldn't support him. And then so you get this whole drama between this couple. And then this episode basically summed up, because this was a side plot throughout the whole, the past couple seasons.
I do appreciate when they make a nice, concise summary of these sorts of side plots.
Yeah, exactly. So you only sort of see them off, that's what Jackson and Avery Jackson and April are doing. That's their names. They're doing that thing where they're like arguing or divorcing or, whatever, they're having problems. And then, finally in this one episode, it's like, no, this is all about them, except that it's all backwards. It's all starts from where we are, and it goes back a step, and back a step, and back a step.
Well, I mean, like, if nothing else, you can watch those sorts of episodes and see it as like a diagnostics thing. Like this is the end result. Now let's work back for the reasons as to what has caused it. Where did that seed get planted? Exactly.
And that's, how, Grey's Anatomy always has this little voiceover, like it's a different character each time, and it's really fun because you get like the actors really get a chance to be emotional and stuff and tell stories. So they have a voiceover of a different character saying, trying to analyze. Usually it's a double meaning because they'll talk about a medical problem, like they'll talk about this is cancer, and what cancer does is it gets in the way, and it you can't ever do anything because the cancer is like an overbearing mother-in-law, and then. In the next scene, somebody's overbearing mother-in-law comes in, or so there's little metaphors and.
You are a cancer lady.
Yeah. So in this case, it was like you were saying, it's like you're diagnosing the problem. It's as if a doctor is, and that's exactly what the character was voicing over, doing a voiceover as they were going. It's like, okay, now let's see what. It wasn't as blatant as let's see what happened before this, but you always want to find the cause of the thing, and sometimes what you think is the cause, there's actually a different cause that was before that caused that. Yeah. So yeah,
like I said, you can use it like as a diagnostic to start working back to see where the seed.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes a marriage just doesn't work, and sometimes because they get a divorce at the beginning of the episode, which is the end of the time
line,
frame, or so it's like, oh, okay, I guess it didn't work. And then, spoiler alert, at the end of the episode, she finds she's pregnant again.
Oh. So. Wait, that would be at the beginning of the timeline?
Well, they jumped back to
Okay.
they went back, and then they jumped forward. At the end of what we watch, we see the present day time, and it's like, oh no, she's pregnant. Okay, what is she gonna do? So.
Oh, okay, so it's not bad. At least it's a different sort of style of telling the story than format.
I was saying I'm not that big of a fan of the whole working backwards.
Well, when
but
it's done right, it's great because it's
Yeah.
almost like a detective mystery where, like, you know who done it. You know, like a murder she wrote. Like, you know who did it. You know, so like how it all goes, and then you got to piece it all together to find a way, like, why and how.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's an interesting challenge to set to a writer or to anybody putting together a production of some kind. Is can you still maintain that suspense if people already know what's going to happen at the end? So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in this day and age, you're pretty much going to know how most movies end. It's always the how that determines it.
Yeah, and I think that's a mark of, like, if you can do that, that means you're a pretty good writer. If you can, if you have the how and people are still interested in watching, I think that's I think you've done well.
Very nice.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hooray.
That was my week in simulations, watching TV and all this stuff. Shall we talk about yours?
Mal, I think the biggest part of simulation for me this last week was I got a chance to watch the Deadpool movie.
Sweet. Oh.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was wondering at some points there whether or not another actor could have pulled it off other than Ryan Reynolds. Because you need a lot of charisma for the scenes to work as charming rather than, like, would have been like, geez, this is tasteless and kind of disgusting.
Yeah. Okay.
So no.
You didn't find it tasteless or disgusting?
In the good ways, yes. Particularly the use of violence. Uh-huh. Like when a guy gets shot in the head, it's not clean entry wound, clean exit wound, and then it's gone. It's like guy falls to the ground and there goes some blood and like bone tissue and like brain matter out there behind him. Like dude got shot and there goes his brains, and they don't shy away from showing like the physicality of the violence.
Yeah.
And because Deadpool is not a hero. A hero doesn't cause this horrible violence. Deadpool's a mercenary.
Did Deadpool shoot that guy?
Deadpool shot like everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
In wonderfully humorous ways too. He got shot himself, but it didn't really stop him. So whatever.
So if Deadpool was real, would they just put him in jail? Like, do you think?
Yes. Whether or not you can keep him in jail is another issue.
Okay.
There's a bit of a, I guess, maybe minor spoiler. He's getting led away after like the first scene is all done and all the carnage is complete, and he cuts off his own hand to get out of the handcuffs. Because dude, it's gonna grow back. It's just not like he has.
What is his superpower?
Regeneration.
Okay.
He's effectively immortal. However, he had cancer when he got his immortality, and now the cancer is immortal as well, and he's riddled with cancer everywhere. But it can't kill him because he regenerates it.
Okay. Does it make him weak or what?
No, it makes him just horribly ugly.
Oh, it just makes him ugly. Oh, that's why he wears the thing.
Well, one of the reasons, yeah.
Okay.
But oh my goodness, it's like everything, even the violence though, even when it was shown, being like violent and gory, it was still very humorous. And so a corpse of a guy winds up hitting like a side of like something. It's hilarious. Don't know why everyone laughs, but it's just like physical humor. His corpse splatted against the sign.
Wow.
And I really do like the fact that they portrayed the fact that he wasn't a hero in the conventional sense. He was trying to do what at least he thought was right, and nothing was considered sacred in the whole movie. Like there was jokes, against Ryan Reynolds' career and all that sort of thing. I believe the one trailer, showed at least one of them. As he's going in to become like a superhero and all that. It's like, whatever you do, don't make my suit green or animated. Referencing the Green Lantern role he was in.
Yeah. Which
I don't consider, he was never the problem in the Green Lantern movie. I think there was some script writing and some CGI things that could be done better, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He even made it like a reference to a thing, about his looks afterwards, and how important they are, that he's this horrible, scarred, prune-faced man. And he was just like, do you think Ryan Reynolds' career survives because of his wonderful, in-depth acting talent? And so he winds up, like even, knocking himself down a peg. And there's something to be said about that, where, everybody's a target. The mutants they had in there were a little, I found the choice, at least for the XMen one, was a little interesting. They had Negasonic Teenage Warhead. They chose her for the name. And they did change up the powers a little bit. Apparently in the comics she's more of a telekinetic psychic person, whereas in this one she's basically like the cannonball guy who just like generates concussive force and there goes an explosive like blast this way. But I mean it still works with the name. As I guess kind of like a teen sort of sidekick sort of thing going on to Colossus, who is almost entirely CGI for every scene he's in. And I found that one to be the most interesting, that they decided to go with like a CGI character. Like they could have gone with like a bulky like regular guy and just painted him up silver and done a little CGI to make him look all shiny and chromatic. But no, like dude was like bigger than life and like CGI. So I found that one to be a very interesting choice. He did fulfill some very good roles as like a heavy hitter. So that way, Deadpool doesn't have to be the heavy hitter. He can be the skillful, I cut you with my swords and shoot you with my guns sort of thing. And it all altogether worked in a bit of a wonderful little dysfunctional way. And like I'm really happy that apparently the sequel's been greenlit. And I'm thinking, like, this is, like, I've already seen people commenting, like, along my same lines of thought, like, dude, like, this made a lot of money. Opening box office weekend was, like, over $100 million. This is a very profitable movie that almost never got greenlit in the first place. But now that that's out there and you realize that you can do humor, gross out violence, and all that stuff and still make a lot of mint and have it be good, that opens up for a lot of other potential, like, superheroic sort of characters or anti-hero characters to tell a really good story. A little something off the beaten path from what you're seeing from the Marvel powerhouse right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully the lesson is, what, take risks? And not
take some risks and be true to the character.
Yeah, not necessarily that you should do all this, violence or that you should.
If that's what the character's about, then yeah, go for it. There's a market for that.
Yeah, don't compromise your character. Just do what you need to do.
Well, the thing is, you got Lobo sort of thing in the DC stuff, and he is violent. It's kind of his thing. He was all created as a parody of like people like Wolverine. And so he was so over the top, and everyone loved him. So they said, okay, then let's make him like a space biker, and they loved him even more. And like no matter what they do, like he's getting better and more popular until they rebooted the universe, and it came out as something else entirely. I won't even talk about much.
Okay.
But yeah, long story short is like he is everything that Deadpool was. And maybe even more in some categories. He's got some super strength and abilities like that. So you can do that. You can play the story. You can do you can take the space scene stuff from like Guardians of the Galaxy, the violence of Deadpool, and mesh them together into a wonderful story about a space biker who killed off his entire planet's inhabitants, made a bike that allows him to breathe in outer space. Goes out contracting, as a mercenary, and loves space dolphins. And that apparently there's like according to the numbers, there's an audience for that. So hooray!
They should. So do you think they should make Howard the Duck again? Give another shot at that, and really like.
Well, especially with the advent in CGI technology and all that, you don't always have to have a guy, like a midget in a duck suit. So that's a plus there. I'm not saying it was badly done, just saying that it never looked right. It always looked like a guy in a duck suit.
But do you think they were like pulling punches a little bit in the film version? They should have gone further and raunchier too in the jokes. And
well, there was like a pseudo seduction scene between him and the Beverly character in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that caused a lot of people to start thinking furry thoughts well before the furry movement was on the internet. But if there was one big argument against Howard the Duck was that they never really followed much for the comic storyline of him.
Yeah.
Whereas now they can put him in there. Not as much as I would like to see. The latest stuff for Howard the Duck has involved like repeated jokes at Peter Parker's expense. There's a bit where someone's abducting senior citizens, and so they just happen to find a plucky old lady who will help out, be like a decoy bait and save the day. Her name is May Parker. It's Aunt May. Mm-hmm. And then when she goes off with Howard the Duck and his sidekick to go save the day, and beat up an old bad guy and all that, Peter's there is like, no, Aunt May, where are you gone? And he immediately assumes the worst, and he just kind of breaks down. And everything that keeps happening, it always winds up just like if anything bad happens, it winds up getting Peter Parker sort of thing, because that's the life of Peter Parker for a lot of his history. Mm-hmm. But it overplays his incredible seriousness of like, oh my goodness, it was all my fault. Oh no, everything's gone wrong because of me. It's like, no, dude, Aunt May decided to step up to the bat and try and save, her friends. And it does not happen to need Spider-Man in this case. It needs an anthropomorphic, talking duck that's about 3 feet high and a human being. Woo! So I think now that they have the Marvel Steamhouse going, they could, definitely incorporate Howard the Duck into the wider universe as, if nothing else, like a cynical-eyed view. In a way, I mean, especially when you start thinking about matters of size, the Howard the Duck movie, things weren't always working right because it was rather difficult to get the right angle, the right shots, but the Lord of the Rings proved that you can have a full-sized human being look like a 3-foot-tall hobbit. And everything works out best, and good, with some very nice camera angles that you can very easily mimic. Mm-hmm. You could, have you seen John Rhys Davies in real life? He is not a small man.
I have never seen him in real life, no.
He is not a small dude.
Well, actually, did he come to Victoria at some point?
He may have been in Victoria at some point. It's a wonderful place to come and visit.
Yeah.
But maybe. No, you've seen Sliders.
Yeah, but that's not real life.
Well, no, but Sliders has John Rhys Davies as a human being, not Gimli.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
So yeah, you've seen Sliders, right? He's the professor, not a small person, and yet
no, he's a tall guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He was Indiana Jones's friend in a few of the movies, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Don't eat the dates; they're poisoned. There's that dead monkey there.
Yeah.
Not a small dude, and yet he was able to, thanks to the magic of the wonderful people who should be getting awards. Have everybody believe that he was a dwarf of about 4 feet high. And if you can pull off that sort of magic, where you can convince the world that John Rhys Davies is a 4-foot-tall dwarf, then by golly, you should have gotten a lot of awards for that. So that'll sink back into earlier on this iteration.
Okay.
But if you can believe John Rhys Davies can be a dwarf, then you can certainly believe a regular person can be Howard the Duck size.
Yeah.
So I think they could do a lot more with it. I do believe they should try to make a Howard the Duck movie, or at least include him in, the background sidekick character, like a secondary person in some of the other movies. Come on, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And everybody could use that cynical eye view, especially if it happens to be a duck that smokes a cigar.
Yeah.
Come on, right? Yes, going back to Deadpool, I recommend everybody see it, provided you are of age. It is definitely naughty. Stan Lee's cameo is he's the announcer in a strip club.
Uh-huh.
If I'm going to say any negative thing about that, I kind of wish he would have been in a cameo in some aspect where he could have pulled a gun and threatened to shoot somebody. Just because Stan Lee is typically playing this passive sort of person in the background. Oh my goodness, I'm the average person. Whereas in a Deadpool movie, even the background person is liable to whip out a gun and threaten to shoot you for the shenanigans you're trying to pull.
I see.
So it could have been Deadpool's trying to do something, and all that. No, out comes the gun. No, like heck you do, buddy boy. And he shoos off Deadpool to go, take something else.
Does Stan Lee ever do guns in his cameos? I don't.
No, he's always played despite being a citizen of New York, he's always been the guy just oh my goodness in the background sort of thing.
I don't feel like Stan Lee is. I mean, obviously he likes writing comics with guns in them, but Yeah, I don't see him as a gun guy.
Do you know who his favorite person is in the Marvel Universe?
No.
Lobo.
Huh.
Dude's got guns aplenty.
Yeah.
If there's a comic book that should have like the tagline "More DACA," it's Lobo. That said, yeah, as an announcer in a strip club, I'm pretty certain he wasn't regretting his inability to whip out firearms. I'm pretty certain he had a fun time shooting his cameo.
Okay.
So
Good for him.
Yeah. And hey, you know, it is a Stan Lee cameo. Like that really is what makes a Marvel movie a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. Which is why we can say that last Fantastic Four was not a Marvel movie or any real movie at all. There wasn't even a Stan Lee cameo going on. Yeah. How bad is it when Stan Lee's not going to do a cameo in the movie? But yes, that's the big thing for this week.
Big thing you did? Okay.
Yeah, not a lot of stuff. You know, on that I watched The Mummy. I watched, did a little bit of Minecraft. Saw the Whale Lords sort of thing. Got all up on there.
Whale Lords. Oh, the Yogscast
from the
series.
Yogscast,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. I want to see where it goes. It looks like they've got something going on there. That said, a lot of my week has been spent on Hero Quest. Like, I found a spot online, Ye Olde Inn, that has like PDFs of like all the stuff. So not only did I not have to haul all my stuff out and open up and move everything everywhere, but they also had the 2 modules, expansion packs that were only released in Europe. And from what I saw on stuff like eBay, I saved myself about €260 by not needing to buy that. Hooray! I mean, I don't have the box, so I don't have all the wonderful stuff that comes with it, like the figures and the wonderful extra like doors and furniture and stuff. So, but man, the price was right, and I was able to fill in the gaps of the lore of what's going on there. Right?
I see. Yeah.
But I decided, it's like, you know what, I could do this, I could do that to it. It seems easy enough. Start off first off with the fact that my dice for Hero Quest have gotten so much use over the decades. They are rather hard to read. Like it's like sometimes you have to stare. It's like, is that a white shield or a black shield? The skulls are still fairly able to determine. But so it occurred to me, it's like, well, what if I rewrite it and instead of saying like you need to roll anything but a black shield, it's like, success on, like a 2 or higher. It's the same thing. A 6-sided dice where you succeed on like 2 through 6 is the same as, like a 1 black shield on a 6-sided die.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to make it so you don't need those dice.
Yeah, so I can use generic dice. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm reading through some of these spells, and they repeat themselves an awful lot. This spell can be cast on any one hero, including yourself. You could just shorten it to like target, one, hero. And, like save yourself a line and make things a little easier. And there are some areas where it's like, to resist this, you do it like, blah, 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 you roll so many dice based on the body points, blah, 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 done this, done that. It's like, you could just say, like, resist it physically, as though it were like an attack, like, or, mentally, or, actually, you go physically, like, as you roll, like, against, like, poison sort of thing. Like, you gotta, like, not roll a black skull, not roll a shield, black shield on there.
Okay.
Some stuff hurts your mind, so you gotta roll against your mind points. You get, like, 1 die for each mind point you have. Or you could just roll as though, or to resist as though it were attack. You're trying to resist like attack, like someone's like slashing a sword at you. So instead of detailing the rules every time, I was thinking, well, you could just simplify that out into just saying resist physical, resist normal, resist mental.
Yeah.
Or resist none. You can't resist the spell at all. So I copied all the information out into nice little, text documents. Because all the PDFs are kind of hard to change, right? And I'm having a lot of fun. My fingers are just flying. My wife came in and she wasn't even able to understand, like, what was that sound? I was like, I'm just typing. And it was so fast she didn't perceive it in her mind as typing.
Ooh, you're typing fast.
Yeah, I can be a fast typer when I'm motivated.
Okay.
And I wound up like learning about the system as I try and look at it and tweak it. Like, for instance, they have a spell, Pass Through Rock. You get to ignore walls and stuff like solid rock for your next turn. Any one hero, including yourself. And this seemed like limited usefulness to me. Like, okay, whatever. Like when are you going to need to pass through a wall? I suppose. But then I realized they have a falling block trap. If you don't disarm it and it falls, not only do you take some damage, but that block that's fallen now counts as a solid square.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be like, dude, there are some areas where you can get trapped. Like, I've looked at the maps. It's like, yeah, if you dodge the wrong way when it falls down, you could get trapped in here. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized the spell Pass Through Rock does not require line of sight. So, like, oh no, I'm locked into this room. The following things has blocked me. What am I going to do now? Well, the wizard can cast the spell that gets you out. Oh, but he can't see me. He doesn't need to see you. And then I start looking at the other spells, and it turns out there's a decent number of spells that don't require line of sight. I'd always assumed they did. Like, oh yeah, like if I'm going to cast a spell, I should be able to see my guy. No, you don't need to see them at all.
Is it an oversight in the rules?
I don't think so. I think it was a tactical decision. Because the wizard is pretty darn weak. But what you could have him do is, like cast the spells in a safe zone where he's not going to be threatened, and he still can provide maximum usefulness. The spell, air spell, Genie. The Genie could do any either of the two things. One is open a door anywhere on the map, revealing the contents beyond. Or two, attack a creature with like the force of 5 combat dice, which is a pretty strong fight, especially in the first couple of fights. Like the Barbarian starts off using only 3. So this is like double Barbarian attack almost, man. And it just occurred to me, it's like that didn't say anything about line of sight for most of that stuff. Like so you could like knock out the boss man on the map without needing to see him. You could, and so like just by deciding to look at it and tweak it in a way that I would prefer, I'm learning more about the base system. I'm getting more tactically aware. I leveled up, man. So I was like, woo. It's always nice to know, like in a point when you suddenly realize new tactics and you become more aware of the scenario. That said, yeah, I want to put up some rules. Is like, okay, like what happens if you try and travel through a wall, but like there's furniture on the other side? It's passed through stone, not passed through library. Mm-hmm. So I had to come up with some notes about that. And then it's like, oh, well, if I'm doing that, like what if you just want to push it over? So I came up with some rules about like pushing over furniture. So,
oh yeah, a rule for pushing over furniture.
Well, and like it's like like at some point in time, I think everyone who's played the game has knocked over a piece of like the bookcases or the closets by trying to maneuver their character around. That's just the nature of 3D stuff, right? You'll eventually bump it off with your hand and all. It's like, well, what happens if you actually do push it over? What if you push the bookcase over on a few goblins? Could you kill them with that? That's a pretty heavy bookcase, man. What about the table? Like, why can't you step up on top of the table? Why is it like in some areas, like you've got like just enough room to walk around the outside of a table? So instead of having like a solid room, you've got yourself basically a nice circle that everyone has to go around. So why can't you just step on top of the table and start slashing creatures from on top of your table?
Well, because if you want to do that, just play D&D, where there's a dungeon master who can make that call for you.
But that's the thing is it shouldn't be too hard to do. Just to come up with a quick little house rule on that. Or what if I turn the table up on its side so I get some protection? That way, people can't like shoot arrows at me or anything. Bad, man. I made myself some cover.
Well, again, I'm saying like just make it into D&D, or just give the dungeon master the authority to make calls like that.
Zargon, the dungeon master, does have that. It is explicitly stated in bold text, no less, that Zargon is the complete authority of the Hero Quest game.
Okay, yeah. So you don't necessarily. Well, this is a contentious issue in game design, though, because I'm saying that you probably don't need to have those rules codified as long as you have a DM who's kind of can apply a bit of common sense and say, yeah, okay, if you turn over the table, I'll just apply a ad hoc defense bonus to you or whatever, or say that they can't target you.
Instead of being a 2x3 area, it's now a 1x3 area, and that qualifies as a solid spot, blocks line of sight, yada, yada, yada.
But I will say the other problem with that, though, is there's probably an infinite number of different little tweaks and things that you could discover if you played long enough. You could, I can knock this down. I can get around this corner, and I can hide here, or bring this item of my equipment that says my character has this. I don't know, I can't use it, like a rope around to hang, and I don't know what. But
there actually is no rope in there.
There's no rope.
One of the other things I was looking at too is like, well, you know what? If you're like some of the expansion packs add like little things where you can like put down extra tiles. So it's like, is it really that hard to make caltrops for the game? Like anyone's trying to step on this could take 1 combat die of damage.
Yeah.
You can resist normally as per like armor. Bada bing, bada boom. Like I can type that up in a moment. Yeah. So as I'm going about it, I just have it's for my own fun. It's a little hobby of mine for things, just having some fun with it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
As I'm changing things about, like, okay, and the more I change, the more I learn about the system itself. So this is a nice little half hobby, half educational experience for me on this.
Do you find the system, sort of the core mechanics of it, robust?
Well, that's the thing. It's robust in the same way that a net is robust. There's very little there. I mean, technically, your heroes can move and take one of 6 actions, and that's really about it.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the basic sort of stuff. Then they come up with stuff like, oh, hey, this is like a locked door. This is like a it's been solid locked. You have to roll some dice to see if you can bust it open, and fun little things like that. But yeah, you basically move and take 6 actions, and that's all there is to it. But I do find it like simple enough that like just ad hocing a rule is easy to put in there and even write down and make it every bit as solidly written and professional as the actual booklet instructions have. Which is, I think, like maybe that's the reason why HeroQuest is being popular since like 1989, and it's still considered like a huge fan favorite, is because the rules are simple, easy to pick up, easy to understand, and like, oh, there you are and away. And if you need to house rule something, easy enough to add in.
Yeah, because I will say my favorite rule set that is hyper complete, or very close to complete, is D&D 3rd edition and 3.5. Because they threw in like all this, stuff that other editions had not even they'd be like, no, just the DM can handle that. But 3.5 was very much, no, we're going to cover a ton of territory and say exactly what you can and can't do. And I for learning how to DM, I really enjoyed that. And I know that it
is nice to have that backdrop. It's like it's got your back here, like it says right there for you.
Yeah, I know there's a case to be made against that in that maybe it limited me in my imagination, but I don't think so. I think I learned a lot just by having sort of everything out there, and it's also it is very principled and it's sort of they tried to make it.
Some of the rules are a bit cumbersome, though. I mean, I think 3rd edition's grappling rules have never been popular because of just how difficult they are for so many people.
Well, I never minded the grappling rules. I was okay with them.
Well, it's like a 4-step thing.
I know it's complicated, but if you know it as a DM and you can run your players through it, it's not too bad.
But here's the thing. It was complicated because it was fair to both sides.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, they tried.
Whereas
to make it like
in HeroQuest, it's something like, if you fall down this pit, you have fallen forever. There's one in like the bonus, like I was reading for the European one. There's a pit of chaos. Anyone who falls into this pit is subsumed by the forces of chaos and arises under the control of chaos forever. Like, it is very easy to permanently lose a character there. And so you can argue, that's not fair. It's like, well, dude, it wasn't fair for you hacking through all those goblins to get here, right? But the unfairness does really help the simplicity. You don't have to make any checks about how far you fall, whether or not you can grapple onto the side of the pit before you enter like the pit of chaos itself. It's like, no, you end your turn on this square, you are gone forever. And unfair, but very simple.
Yeah, well, it's part of this whole gamist theory versus simulationist, which we've sometimes brought up. So in a gamist theory, it's because it is a game, you can have a condition that says game over when. It's just if you fall down this pit, game over. Like
some of them do make sense. Pass through rock, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, if you end your turn on a solid rock space, you are gone because you solidify in the rock.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like you can't argue not fair on that one. I mean, there's a big old warning on the card for that.
Except
you will be lost forever.
Wouldn't the magic spell have something sort of built into it that was like a failsafe, like the wizard who first made the spell?
This is not spells with OSHA compliance going on here. Spells are dangerous things.
I guess so, yeah.
There's a lot of ways to get yourself particularly hurt in this game.
I think in D&D, I think there might be a pass wall spell that like causes 5d6 damage to you if you.
Oh, I think it's 1d6 per 5 feet. You have to shunt out to the nearest vacant spot. Whereupon, yes, it can very much kill you just as easily.
Yeah, so at least it's something, but it's Because like the magic can't find a place to put your material essence, but every time it tries, it's like, oh no, damaged. We'll put that essence somewhere else. Nope, not there. It's kind of like trying to materialize a transporter in Star Trek into a wall. It's like, nope, don't do that. Oh, we lost a little bit of the signal, but hopefully they're still alive.
Don't worry, they're just coming back without some skin. That's all. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. We got sprays for that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, as I analyze the system, I find its simplicity very robust. In that the ad hocing any rules you want is pretty easy to go about.
Yeah, and it has sort of principles like core mechanics of what you can do, and then you can sort of extrapolate
which is something I'm trying to streamline in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, if I want to resist this spell, resist mentally, resist physically, resist normally.
Yeah.
In which case, a little. If that's something I learned from 3rd edition 3.5. You put the definitions for what these things mean at the front, save yourself a lot of space later on.
Yep.
So hooray! And because I have the space in there now, I can wind up doubling up the amount of spells. Woo! So you get more choice and selection. Because some of the spells introduced later on, it's like, well, this is supposed to be a chaos spell, but it would work really well as a fire spell too, So it's like, I can do that and use this rule here that creates a wall of fire and extrapolate that one into a wall of stone. So I can create create stone walls spell for a limited time. You can bust down through sheer force. Hooray! And other fun little things like that. And it's like I learn about myself as I go about that. But I think mostly it's I just like learning the system because it's not going to be too long before my daughter's going to be old enough, and I'm going to be playing it with her. And I checked up the stuff. It says it's supposed to be for ages 10 and up, but almost everyone agrees ages 8 and up, provided you can understand the rules, is good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I'm really looking forward to is just getting into the games I've had for years with my daughter. Now, unfortunately, she only really play about 2 games for board games right now. It's Candyland, which she loves to play to no end, and Snakes and Ladders, or I guess Chutes and Ladders in this case.
Okay.
And I mean, the rules for that have never really changed all that much.
Yeah, well, those are 2 games in which there's 0 strategy, right? But it's just teaching you how to move around on a board.
Well, I'd say you can apply some strategy to Candyland. We tried that last week, where instead of drawing 1 card, you draw 2 and choose which one you want to use.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we're teaching her how to look ahead and see which is a better of 2 choices.
I think...
In which case some tactics do happen, and it's almost impossible to get sent back to a previous pink square.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to draw 2 pink cards and then have to take the least worst of them.
Yeah.
So hooray! No more getting sent back. I'm 1 turn away from winning and then getting sent all the way back to Cupcake Commons.
Although there's still, in terms of, if you had 2 skilled players, 2 adult players, there's still obviously a best choice.
Yeah.
When you have 2 cards. But at least,
it does break itself down into very little strategy at all.
Yeah.
Which is why I am hoping to get her into something like Sorry, where you have multiple pieces moving around the board, and then you decide which one to move.
Yeah, you pick your piece to move. Yeah, that's slightly, more. But she'll have to be a couple years, 2 more years older before she gets into Story.
At least that one. That's okay, though, because I showed her some of the cool games we had. I showed her the Hero Quest game. I showed her my Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
And she was loving it. Oh my gosh, she wants to do that. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, my little one, but unfortunately, to play these games, you have to read the rules and understand them. Yeah. And you don't know how to read yet. And then she looks at me, Daddy, you teach me how to read? So I've gotten the thirst of reading into her. So hooray! And this will wind up being a nice little carrot for her to chase after as she learns to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's just the big thing I'm focused in these days is trying to find nice, simple little games to play with my daughter that isn't going to dull my head. And Hero Quest, despite its simplicity, is still not simple enough. But I guess in the long term that's okay because it gives me enough chance to help teach her out about rolling dice and counting up stuff and all that. And then we step up from Hero Quest to D&D, and before you know it, She's at the table with me. Woo! We're
Nice.
gaming it.
Yeah.
Father-daughter game nights. Although, I won't lie, there is, over at Skyhaven Games last time I popped in there, a book called Little Wizards, which is supposed to be a role-playing game for the really young crowd, like ages 10 or even a little younger sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to take a look at that, save up some, pocket change, and see if I can't pick that one up, so that I might have something for her when the time comes. Any recommendations for basic board games and simple stuff that might be very kid-friendly?
Oh, well, I remember as a kid playing a lot of card games, just with cards. Uno.
Crazy Eights, Go Fish,
Yeah,
sort of thing?
Crazy Eights, Go Fish.
I remember learning Go Fish. Babysitter taught it to us. We loved that one. So I will have to teach my daughter more, like number recognition. Get her 100% on that.
Another game we played when we were pretty young was Battletops. It's not a board game, but it fits in a board game box, so it was in the board game closet.
Yeah.
Do you ever play that one?
The name is slightly familiar, but I'm not drawing any mental images.
So it's a little...
Illuminate us.
It's a board game-sized board with like a big plastic bowl.
Okay.
Like Was
it anything like the Beyblades game where you just zip up?
I think it's similar to that, yeah, because you wind up the tops with like string.
Okay.
And then you like lock them into the side of the board, and then you let go of that, and then you pull the string, and then it spins the top, and then they spin around the board, the bowl, and then like up to I think there's 4 stations where you can start tops off. There's different colored tops, so like each player spins a top. And the last top, like they bump into each other, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
They're battling.
Tops bumping into each other, yeah.
And then the last one standing is the winner.
Woo!
So, yeah. And then you play more further rounds. So that requires a bit of coordination, but...
yeah, I'm not certain if she'd have the coordination to properly get the top going up.
That's one I remember playing it's an early memory for me, anyways.
How about Hungry Hungry Hippo? All you really need to do is mash that dirty button.
That one would be easier. Yeah, it's a button masher.
Well, admittedly, it's fairly easy to choose your preferred color of hippo and just go at her, right?
Yeah, and there are probably a lot of if you just go to Toys R Us, there are probably just shelves full of whatever's new.
I won't lie. Every time I go to Toys R Us, I find board games I would like, but are very much not good for my kid yet.
Yeah.
Like, they got a Magic the Gathering one that looks just sublime. You create the board as you go. You got your planeswalkers, and you summon your creatures, and you build the board as you go. And it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But can't play that with her, at least for a ways yet.
Mm-hmm. And there was one where it's a crocodile's mouth, like it's a big plastic crocodile.
You got to pull teeth out of it?
Yeah, take the teeth out.
Oh, yeah. That one always seems a little cruel to me. But I guess you're supposed to be like a doctor, so whatever, go for it, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how much feeling crocodiles have in their mouths. I think they're probably fine.
Well, it still seems a little reckless.
I guess if you take out all its teeth, then it can't eat, and then it starves to death, and then dies. So yeah.
I will be happy if I can find a good copy of Operation for her.
Ooh, Operation.
When her hand-eye coordination gets rather solid.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of that game.
Yeah, I remember bungling that up as a kid and coming back to it 10 years later. Hey, look, my aunt still has this game. Pop in some fresh batteries. Why is this so easy now?
What's it?
And it just, that's apparently 10 years of hand-eye coordination development. Thank you, video games.
I remember I tried Operation maybe less than 10 years ago, so when I was as an adult. And I remember finding some of the pieces actually were challenging. A lot of them were easy, but there was a couple ones that, this one is the hard one.
Oh, well, that's because you didn't do the biology degree. You didn't learn how to try and dissect a locust.
Yeah.
After that, you learn a lot about some very good... do you know what an otolith is?
No.
It's a bone in a fish's head. They utilize it to help determine placement and some stuff like that and all that. But what we biologists like it for is that it's like a pearl. wherever the fish goes, it adds layers on its otolith as it grows.
Oh yeah.
And that, if especially for like the fish that go in streams, if you can keep a track record of what chemicals are in the stream and what proportions, and then later on when you're taking the otolith out of a fish's head, it's lethal, so it'd be like a corpse fish's head.
Okay.
You can like cut that thing in half and analyze the rings and determine its exact life cycle and where it's been the entire time. So you can do a lot of like catching illegal fishing that way.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But to get them out without damaging them does take a lot of very calm motion and movement. And after a few hours of doing that, one, your nose is just going to be absolutely dead for the night because of pickled fish, like smell. But you gain just like the experience of that calm motion. Yeah. Like operation is nothing to you anymore. So I would like to wow her with that. What age do you think is okay to play Minecraft?
Oh, yeah.
Get her an account. Have her pop onto my server. Help me out.
5 or 6. I mean,
okay, still almost double her life, so far.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be able to do survival and be a boss at that. But yeah, I think you can probably get someone to play Minecraft fairly early, just to move around, jump around. Yeah.
Okay, dig it. Because she does like watching me, and she when she sees something on TV that has a pixel-based formation for a character, she's, "Look, Daddy, that's a Minecraft thing."
Yeah.
So yeah. Apparently, I have indoctrinated her on that one.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, we talk about Minecraft all the time because we play it, but I think it's still a pretty big game as far as kids are concerned. Like, still pretty popular.
Well, it's a sandbox game. You get to build things. It's got all the fun of Lego, and like all the appeal of it's a video game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. I hope it stays popular, but you never know what's going to take over as far as what the kids are going to love in a couple of years. So
I know. But yeah, so it winds up right now. I have to do the whole analysis of like, could she play it for my games right now? And just heck, it's like me analyzing like the Hero Quest and becoming better at it. Like the more games I think about, like, okay, could she play this? No, why not? What is she lacking? Could I do Go Fish? Some of her numbers she's not so solid on. She doesn't exactly, always pick up the difference between a 6 and a 9 properly.
Yeah.
Which admittedly is difficult. Although, you know what else I've noticed is I'm trying to teach her the alphabet. There's an awful lot of repetition. She's having a hard time between E and F because they look a lot alike.
True.
And then there's the B, the D, the R, the K, where it's just a line and stuff coming off the side, and it's just like...
Yeah.
Like who like there's a lot of different ways to make shapes. Why did we make so many of them so darn similar?
We did, but I was looking at Chinese is the opposite because you get a lot of very
complex,
interesting.
Yeah.
But I was looking at Arabic, like trying to learn the Arabic alphabet, just seeing what the letters were. And those are like, oh, this is the 1 thing, and then the 2, and then the 3, and then 1 with dot, and then 2 with dot, and then 2 with 2 dots, or yeah. So they're very actually. If you can get a row of letters that looks just like just one line after another, just one or one. I don't know what you call it, thingy, one thingy after another.
Well, I know Zoe's got a thing with like O's, Q's, and C's and G's because they're all like circles, and like one's a circle, the other one's a circle with a line through it, like a circle with a tail, and the other 2 are broken circles, one of which has been cleared away, the C, and the other which still has the broken pieces left over, the G. And so it's like it seems like almost needlessly complex, especially if you're trying to learn it.
And also, yeah, like there's no obvious relationship between a capital G and a little g, and a cursive G for that matter. They look very different.
I'm surprised she managed to pick up the lowercase I, given the fact that the uppercase I, as she says, just looks like a 1, which is going to suit her very well when she learns her Latin numerals, right?
Roman,
Roman numerals and all that was going to work out good. But the fact that she's like, oh yeah, this is just smaller with a dot on top. Anyone with a dot there is either an I or a J. I'm like, that's actually much more advanced than I was trying to teach you, but congratulations. You've wowed me for today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is weird, like, why is there a dot on an I? Like, that's That's a good question. I should look that up and research it. And
I think there should be more dots placed in
more dots
letters
on letters.
And all that. Yeah.
But like you'd think,
I
like
would put a dot in the center of the O by default, man. Circle and dot at the center, make it stylish, man.
I don't know, because like back in the day when they invented sort of writing, they would have been writing with ink, and ink is not cheap. So I would think they would try and use as little ink as possible. But I guess maybe. Yeah.
Little ink as possible, and yet you saw the numerals and how they used to write numbers. Really? That's
well,
horrible.
they didn't have the Arabic system at that time.
No, but they still had expensive ink, so you'd want to try and conserve it up.
Yeah, but they didn't. They had to invent a way.
They did not think ahead.
Yeah.
And honestly, even with the numerals for the Arabic on that one for the numbering system, still not easy for some of it. The 6 and the 9 just being like upside downs of each other.
Yeah, I've always not liked that. Although I like to do my 9s with a straight leg.
I always do it that way. Yeah. And I always slash my 0s.
Yeah.
So we can tell apart.
I slash my 7s too. Do you slash your 7s?
I used to, not anymore.
I slash my Zs too.
I don't slash my Zs, but I do give the little ticks on them, so that way you can't confuse it with just a sloppy written S.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I don't know.
Little differences going on.
Should we wrap up about it?
I suppose we should. So I suppose the main topic was like basics or game systems. I don't think they should be putting ages on each one. They should be putting, at least for the basic games, like what you need to know ahead of time. Like Go Fish, all you really need to be taught is like 4 letters and 9 numbers.
Okay, so they could put prerequisites of know your alphabet before you play this game.
That's the thing. Like Zoe does not know how to read.
Yeah. And
yet she knows how to play Candyland. It's a game that's where it's simple enough, like move yourself to the next, like a red square or the next 2 red squares or such and so forth.
Yeah. So for this game, you just need to know your colors.
That's all you really need to know, and how to follow a line. Because sometimes she still winds up going like, oh, the next blue one is this one, and it's blue behind her.
Yeah.
Which, admittedly, right now is the biggest problem for her on Chutes and Ladders that we all experience playing that one, is which way are we supposed to be going on this particular line.
Right.
So, yeah, having some sort of weird, like coloring system whereby you can tell which way is up along the number system would have been a little bit better.
You know what would be really fun is imagine like a giant, like a floor mat sized Chutes and Ladders game that was like sort of with very beautiful artwork, like sort of adult, and not adult, but like Magic the Gathering card style artwork of like gardens and stuff, and like different countries that you can go into, and then like it's confusing. It's like a maze, like those adult or the labyrinths that you can buy in books and stuff. That's like, so you don't know which direction you're supposed to go, but you're like playing, and like a ladder can go all the way from one end to the other, but you don't. It's very hard to actually see where you're at. So part of the challenge of the game is knowing which direction you're actually going.
Very nice.
And then sometimes it would be like a maze, so there would be alternate routes, and be like, oh, this one might be faster, but there's more chutes there, or something like that.
Not bad.
I want to see someone maybe that could be a real art project. Someone could invent that. I don't know if anybody could play it, but
I think someone's working up some sort of like hyperspace Chutes and Ladders.
Ooh, cool.
Wormhole. No.
Yeah. 3-dimensional. Like the 3D chess from Star Trek. Like it's got like a table with like 3 layers that you're moving across.
I do know someone has come up with a 4th-dimensional maze.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Like the basic 3x3x3x3 is still going to take you about an hour to solve. It is rather difficult to wrap your head around that 4th dimension, apparently.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Once you get the hang of it, though, apparently it starts getting a little easier, but it's still going to take you forever to work yourself through the maze.
Mm-hmm.
So hooray! But yes, I still think the generic age groups, from what I'm seeing on these basic young things, it's very, very poorly designed. Like the concept for Hero Quest, like I'm pretty certain Zoe's going to learn how to read before age 8.
Mm-hmm.
So even the concept of age 8, it might be considered. But on the other hand, I can also see her growing, attached to the character sort of thing, and not wanting to lose it, and thus not being able to accept loss. So like my wife comes home one day and Zoe's absolutely just crying with tears and says, "Oh no, what's happened? Daddy killed my elf, Mommy." And it's oh man, it's like I can see her getting upset about that.
The whole point of games is to teach us how to handle those things in a game, in a simulation, rather than sort of real life, because we lose real things in real life, toys and stuff all the time.
But this would wind up being like one of the first games where like loss wouldn't necessarily be just you didn't get to the end first, but rather like, dude, you died. It's like, what if there was something that, like in like Candyland, where if you get stuck on, like this map, you got to pull like we'll say a double purple on your next 3 turns. Otherwise, you fall into, the we'll call it the chocolate morass, and you drown. You are permanently removed from the game. You lose, man. Like instead of just like, oh, you didn't get to the Candy King's castle first.
I don't know. Like
that's a little harsher, man.
Well, you're putting on this. That's flavor text. That you die it's fluff. It's like what really happened is you're done. You're out of the game. You're not playing anymore. The other players are taking their turns.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, like there's a difference between not winning and losing. So in that case, like something like Hero Quest would wind up like having a prerequisite being able to understand the concept of losing a game as opposed to not winning it.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see what happens. We'll do the grand experiment with your daughter and see how she takes it. But I'm picturing that she'll probably be able to handle it fairly well.
I would like to think so, but I'm not going to play the game until I have at least a strong suspicion that she understands the concept of losing as opposed to just not winning.
Yeah, but I mean, also like for kids, like losing a game means okay, now I go eat ice cream, or now I do something else.
But dude, she liked that elf. That was her elf boy. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh. Some people grow very attached to their characters in Dungeons and Dragons too, man. So like if an adult can go really despondent over losing, their half-orc barbarian, then potentially, like Zoe could wind up really crying because I wound up killing her elf. So.
Well, I mean,
so as I study the system, I got to start realizing exactly what Zoe's going to have to know and be able to comprehend before I play that sort of game with her.
If you kill her elf, though, does that mean she never can play an elf ever again?
No, she has to get a new elf. Well, it's not the same as her old elf.
You're going to require her to change the name, right?
Basically, and start with the same equipment all the starting.
Yeah, and she loses. It's just like Minecraft. You lose your equipment. Oh, big deal.
So you're saying then that the Minecraft could be a nice basic area to be able to understand, like the Hero Quest. Yeah. The sooner I get her into Minecraft, the sooner I can get her into Hero Quest.
I just came up with that on the fly spur of the moment, but yes, I'm saying that.
I think that's a very solid logic test to understand. As soon as she's okay with losing some equipment, I can help her out playing out with potentially losing an elf. All right.
Yeah.
And that's the profound revelation then. One game leads to another, and all games lead to betterness.
That's right. We got there. Can I do social media?
Oh, yeah. How can people get a hold of us, man?
TheSimulationist@gmail.com.
All one word, no underscores.
The Simulationist. And that's where you can send larger messages. Shorter messages can probably go, like medium-sized messages can go on our Facebook page, facebook.com/TheSimulationist.
Like, hey, you guys should try out, Hero Quest Kids Edition sort of thing. This guy made this guy and send us a link. Yeah, that's a perfect
link. Yeah, and links and pictures and, encouragement. And, of course, the Facebook page also lets you interact with other fans of The Simulationist because, as we know, there are at least 2 other people listening to this podcast, hopefully. But, yeah, you can talk about games and all
every
that
week I see, like The Simulationist has gotten X many new views.
That's right. And you can like our page on Facebook. And I like to post links sort of somewhat related to The Simulationist every once in a while, sometimes other podcasts.
Don't know if we'll link that 17-page retort from James, but,
I don't know. We can. But, yeah, you can find it.
It's an option.
So interact with us on Facebook, and we'd love it. And you can send me tweets at Josh_Trelaffin. Josh_TRESLAFFIN is my Twitter handle. and that's for really short messages or
140 characters or less.
Yeah, to find out, get updates from what I'm doing. I'll update if Ryan ever needs anything updated. Then I'm fine with that too.
I do a lot of lurking over at the Twitter.
Oh, you do? Okay,
yes,
you lurk on Twitter. Yes.
I follow Wonderella. I follow the Tick. I follow like other people every once in a while.
Okay, so you actually have a Twitter account?
No. I kind of just pop in, see what they've done.
Oh, okay. You have them bookmarked or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All the social media. We're on iTunes. You can subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to this show, and you get. We do this every single week. We've been very consistent. I'm very proud of how much consistency we've had, and how many episodes we've put out, and how much hours of entertainment we've provided.
Or at least notions and ideas. If you don't find us entertaining, you should at least find us as a good resource of notions and ideas.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, subscribe to us on Facebook or on iTunes or on Stitcher is another place, and you can share all those things with your friends on social media, Google Plus, we're on Google, and of course in real life. Like if you meet someone at the gaming store and the topic of podcast comes up, you would help us immensely just by giving us a mention to a person in real life, because that's what's good.
I think that's the preferred way. If I was saying like if everyone could send it one way to someone else, like I would prefer they do it through word of mouth.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the most sincerest form, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully our fans like us enough to share us in.
But only if it's relevant. Don't just try spamming us. That's harsh, man.
I suppose I like to feel that. Like, it's my thought that I think everybody in the world should listen to The Simulationist, because I think we bring
Call me a little elitist, but I think everybody who...
you just think the smart people should.
No, elitist in the fact that the gaming sort of groups would benefit the most from us. I imagine someone who's like a stock trader might not get, the thing. If stock trading is their passion, not just their work, I don't know if they would get as much out from us as, say, like keeping track of, like whatever's going on and shaking in the industries that they're buying and selling trades in.
Yeah. I guess the other thing, though, is if you know somebody who does, like, either has a long commute or is going on a long trip or, needs a little time killed, to put it nicely, or works at night doing a mindless job.
Oh, God, what I would not have given for a good podcast when I was doing night shift work back in the day.
Exactly. So if you know somebody like that, give them the gift of a free podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, unlike some other podcasts, we don't charge you for this.
That's right. And although, you can support us on Patreon if you so choose. You can look us up on The Simulationist on patreon.com. But that's totally voluntary, so yeah. Okay, so I think that's all the things.
Yeah, I've had some very profound thoughts about the nature of games for the young ones, but I haven't figured out how old Zoe should be before I play zombies with her.
Yeah. It says ages 12 and up on it.
It says ages 12 and up, but it's like that's when you want to try and play it like at each other's throats sort of thing. Play it as a cooperative game, whereas like me and Zoe and Mommy all try and get to the helipad sort of thing and like get away, like as a team. I think you could play it at a bit of a younger age and come away with a happy experience.
Yeah.
Provided you're okay with fighting zombies, which Zoe seems very happy to do.
The topic of cooperative games sometimes comes up with, like, one player acting sort of as a quarterback and telling everybody else what to do. Some people don't like that quite so much.
Well, I mean, a thing like zombies, you can do like, oh, hey, like I've got, the 5 hearts and I've got a few bullets and, like the axe. So why don't I go in there, clean out the zombies, and you can get the heart tokens and all that stuff to heal up because I'm doing well and we don't want to lose you.
I just remembered we had a game when I was going back to a few minutes ago when we were talking about games for kids
of your youth
of when I was growing up. We had a game. I think it was called something like Harvest Time. I don't know if it's still available, if they still make it. They probably don't. It was done by, I think it was Parker Brothers or whatever. But it was a cooperative game, and the board was like had little farm plots on it and like carrot tokens, and you grow different crops. And I believe the goal of the game, it was to everybody combined to like have a certain harvest.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't even remember. We probably played it wrong too, seeing how young we were. But
not exactly a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you ever see it, I can't say if it's good or bad because I was like so young. But
A Time to Harvest, eh?
I think it was called Harvest Time. Yeah.
Harvest Time.
But
not like Children of the Corn, or like the lottery Harvest Time, right?
Yeah, no, just
the
like
the crops must come in well. One player must be sacrificed to ensure.
It's just a farming board game.
Okay, that works for me. But yes, this is all like, the amount of board games people have played throughout their youth. I mean, like, if you got anything to send us this week for notes and messages and all that, send us what you guys liked as a kid. What board games and like card games you remember when you were at your youngest. What's the farthest back for the games you can remember?
Yeah, at this point, I can probably also plug BoardGameGeek.com just because it's a site I like. They're not paying us or anything, but BoardGameGeek.com has like sort of listings and different categories.
Listings, not listicles.
Yeah.
Listings are good. Listicles are clickbait.
Okay.
Don't click the listicles.
No, it's like a catalog of all the of every game ever that they can think of, and it's got like what age group it's good for and what components it has and sort of other tags and stuff and reviews if it happens to have people give it stars.
Very
give
nice.
Games stars, and yeah, it's a good site, and it's got forums. People talk about like how to play different things, rules issues come up. Yeah.
Home brewing.
Yeah, it's got that. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's got a section for people who design their own games. Yeah, it's a good. Have you been to BoardGameGeek.com?
I think I've read a few reviews, especially with that HeroQuest 25th edition, which I actually won't mention at this point in time because it's contentious. But you will hear from us again in another 7 days.
Yes, I've been Josh 11.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
And 7 more.